Hi everybody, and welcome to Gettin' Crafty with Kimberly, a show focused on neat and crafty ideas that can be done very inexpensively a lot of times, or with items made around the house. If you're upcycling or starting from scratch, you're going to love this show. Today's show is all about something that can be deliciously fun, I guess you'd say. It's about postcards. Postcards that look like a piece of cake. Now, wouldn't you love to be the recipient of getting some mail that had a piece of cake and a little bit of note attached to it? Of course, you couldn't eat the cake, but it sure would be fun to look at and give you such a laugh when you got it. So I'm going to show you how to make these today. I've made some strawberry ones, I've made some chocolate cakes, and I've got this one all ready to go out. Well, if y'all are ready to get started, let's go right ahead. Now, the supplies that you'll need today are sponges, just big old car washing sponges. You'll need some of those. Also, you'll need spray paint, and you can do the spray paint in colors that would look like cake. You can do white, you can do brown, which I did for chocolate, you can do pink, which is for strawberry, you could even do some type of a maroon or something for red velvet, whatever you thought was the neatest looking. And it's best if you use a yellow sponge. They actually spray up nicer, but if you can't find a yellow sponge, don't worry about it. You can just put enough paint on it to make it work. Also, you'll need a serrated edge knife, which is just a big old bread knife. You'll need an X-Acto knife. You'll need a paintbrush, and for your icing, you'll need some caulk. Now, caulk they also sell in different colors. I have heard a rumor that they sell it in brown. I couldn't find any brown because I was going to make a white cake with brown icing, so I just got the white and I got the almond. So today we're going to be working with the almond because I used up pretty much most of my white. Also, you'll need some scissors, and then that should just about do it. So if y'all are ready, let's go ahead and get started for our postcard piece of cake. You're going to be surprised how much of a piece of cake it is to do also. All right. Put us some newspaper down. Okay. Now, stand your sponge up, and you'll be wanting to saw, I guess you would say, to saw at it crossways. You want it to look like a piece of cake on both ends. You want to leave just enough right there, and then just enough on this end right here to where it makes like a slice of cake, like I've done these two right there. All right, so let's get started cutting our cake. Just take your serrated edge, your bread knife, fancy term for bread knife. That's fun, just cutting through a sponge. Something about that is very satisfying. I don't know what it is. All right, so here's my sponge, all cut in half. So you can see the wedge and wedge. It looks more like a cheese wedge. All right, then depending on how large you would like for your cake slice to be, I made some that are pretty realistic looking. They're kind of short, and then I made some that are a little bit longer, and then I made one that's a little bit longer even in case I had a lot of words I wanted to put on the card. But, so I'm going to do this one, we'll just do it about, you know, whatever-ish. We'll see how it comes out. So you'll want to cut the end of the sponge. Just cut it even. All right, so you get a nice clean edge there, and see that looks about the width of a piece of cake, or about the, you know, how big a piece of cake is. Now we're going to cut off some on the square end too, or on the big fluffy end down here, and you can use your own judgment on this. I have done some, as you see, a lot smaller, and then I've done some larger. I am going to cut it about right there. I think that'll be a good size. That's probably about an inch, inch and a half, something along those lines. The thing about this project is very inexpensive. I would recommend getting new sponges, not the sponges that you've been washing the car with, but you don't have to. You can get some. Now we've got, as you'll notice, this is a bone sponge, so it's got the bone shape. So now we're going to cut the sides of it. See, there's one side. Now we'll cut the other, and we're well on our way to our piece of cake. This is a very simple project and a very quick project too. Now I've got to find something to do with all the ends of my sponge pieces, because now I've got a bowl of sponge pieces, but I just can't seem to make myself throw them away. All right, now you'll want to get your serrated, your X-Acto knife and make little scores right down the middle, and that's going to be for your icing. So you'll make a little score, and not too deep. The deeper you go, the more caulk you're going to have to use. So just make enough to make it look like icing. All right, so see, I got my cut right there. So now I'm just going to start kind of cutting away at that little groove there. And this is going to be covered up, so it doesn't have to be exact. But see how that's coming out? So you'll want to just go ahead, get that out of there. Be real careful with your X-Acto. And I put a new razor blade in mine, so it made it a whole lot easier to work with a sponge. Of course, there's no telling how much I had cut with it. I'm one of those kind of people, I'll use a razor blade until I can get nothing else out of it. All right. Let's go all the way down to the end there. All right, and there's our icing hole. Putting more out of that, and then that's how that looks. See, that looks like a piece of sponge cake like it is. All right, now what you'll want to do, and you'll have with your one sponge, you can get 2 slices of cake out of it, so I like that. All right, so you've got your cake all sliced, your icing down the middle for a 2-layer cake, and then you'll want to take your cake piece and you'll want to paint it. I'm not going to paint so much because we're inside here, but I will show you how it goes, because let's see, I'm going to use the brown because I like the chocolate cake. That's my favorite. Like I said, I'm not going to paint very much because we're inside here, but I'm going to try and get it to this right here. But you'll see how this, see how that goes on? That goes on very nicely. Now, if that's not enough chocolate for you, you can spray it again after it dries. So this is how it's going to look when you get it done. You'll want to spray paint it all over. I stood mine up on the end and sprayed it all around, let it dry, then sprayed the end, and you know, just a regular paint job. So you'll want to get that sprayed. And then when you're finished, you'll come up with this right here. And it's just a sponge that looks like a piece of chocolate cake. Pretty neat, don't you think? Now, I wasn't real particular about getting all the paint inside there because we are going to put our caulk icing inside there. All right, now we've got our piece of cake that's all painted up and dried, and just use your manufacturer's instructions. This particular paint here takes about 10 minutes to dry under the correct conditions, so that's what I did there. All right, so you're going to let that dry, and then you're going to take your craft paper, which I looked for cardstock because I'm completely out of cardstock and I was unable to find any. So I just got some of this glossy paper because I had it on hand. I also thought you could probably use an index card, but this is what you're actually going to put onto the back side of your cake to use. So I'm going to pick a piece of this paper, just any old piece, kind of pink looking piece, and then I'm going to lay my cake down and I'm going to draw around it and make it just a pinch smaller than my cake is going to be. All right, now here's where you take your scissors and you cut your little postcard. Can you believe we're almost finished? This is just an unbelievably easy and fun project. And I had most of the stuff on hand, which you probably do too. I'm going to trim that up a little bit more because I don't want it hanging over the edges of the cake, because we are actually going to mail these. I haven't taken the time yet to mail one, but I'm going to. I'm going to take it up to the post office, and rumor has it that it takes about $3 a slice to mail. So that to me would be just an incredible present to get. Now you can go ahead and write on it if you'd like. Take your Sharpie or whatever you want to write and go ahead and address it if you'd like. You don't have to. This one I went ahead and wrote on before I did it. This one I'm not, because I'm not sure exactly who I'm going to send this one to just yet. So I'm going to get my paper here, use it again, and we're going to spray adhesive this paper onto our piece of cake, and this will be our postcard side. Now I've had some friends who used hot glue, and I was afraid that in the mailing at the post office, if it got handled differently or if it got caught on something, that the hot glue may come off. So I've just opted to use the spray adhesive, and I'll let you know how it goes. You can do it yourself also. So just spray your spray adhesive on there. Spray a little bit on that too. And we'll stick that right onto our sponge, or our cake as it's going to be known now. Make sure you get the corners. And then also you'll want to let the manufacturer's instructions on that to dry too. That particular paint said, or spray adhesive said it needed 15 or 20 minutes. All right, so there's our postcard. So we're going to let this dry. I'm going to sit this over to the side and let it dry, and we'll work on this pink piece. Now, we would have this pink piece also, we would have our card on it. Now, when you get done with your card, then's when it comes time to caulk everything up. This is when you put your icing on. This is fun. All right, I've got my almond colored icing, and I've got my paintbrush. Just any old paintbrush that you want to use. And then you just cut the tip off your caulk unless you've already got one that you're using. And you'll want to just put it right down the center. This is going to be a piece of strawberry cake with almond colored icing. Take your paintbrush, whatever size you like to work with. It really doesn't matter, because you're just going to make it look like icing. And don't worry if you get it on the sides of the sponge there, you know, a little bit, because I don't know about you, but I've never seen what looks like a perfect piece of cake, but I have tasted a perfect piece. All right, so there's how, you know, we'll just kind of do that in. Do it on the edges there. Make that have just a little bit of a curve in there. See, isn't that cute? That's how our piece looks, like that. Now let's go ahead and do the top and the sides to make it look like a real live slice. And so for the top, I'm just going to squirt a bunch on there. And I will tell you from experience, the more caulk that you use, the more it looks like a real live iced piece of cake. Boy, it's tempting not to lick my finger. I just stuck it in that caulk. I better be careful. You'll want to do it just like you're using a decorating knife. Now the caulk that I got, in which I think most caulks are like this, they are paintable. So if you really wanted to get all fancy with this project, you could get some paint, you know, just any kind of paint, spray paint. I thought about that decorator icing. I've got some of that spray can decorator icing, and I thought about trying that. But I like the cakes like these are. I like the caulk colors. And see, this is a thin layer right here, and honestly, I think it's going to look better with a lot more icing on it. So I'm going to juice this one up. And out of one regular size tube of caulk, I got about 4 slices of cake finished. So that should give you a good idea of what you need. I bought, I think, 5, 6 sponges, because now I'm thinking of all these people that are going to get a slice of cake from me in the mail. And they probably won't be a bit surprised. See, now that looks nice. It looks nice and full. And doesn't that really look like a piece of cake? Isn't that something else? If I can make it without tearing it up. All right, now we're going to do the top of it. Or I guess this would be the side. Remember, don't lick your fingers. I'd say this stuff tastes bad. And just however you like to decorate your cake. Even if you can't bake a lick, I feel pretty sure that you can do this. All right, and so that's how we got that one iced. Now caulk, most of it requires like 24 hours. Just read your manufacturer's instructions on your caulk tube too. I got some DAP, some quick seal, and I really liked it. It's waterproof, it's not required, but I figured since I'm going to put these in the mail that I will need to make sure they're as tough as they can be. So, all right, so now we'll set this one aside. And in about a day, maybe, according to the caulk, it should be ready to roll. I've got these pieces that I already made, and as you can see, I made these just a little bit thin, so I'm going to go back actually before I mail these, and I'm going to put some more icing on these. But you can see how the icing, how the caulk dries hard. And if you were inclined to spray it, you could. You could just spray it with something because it is paintable caulk. But if you want to paint it, make sure that you get the correct caulk. But you can see how stiff that is. I've been letting this dry for about a day and a half. Really nice. All right, so I think that our paint is just about dry on our chocolate one that we're making. So we'll go ahead now and we'll ice this one up and get it all ready to go as well. Again, I'm just going to fill that with icing or caulk. Make it look all nice. And you could use yellow, just your sponge yellow, I guess like it is for like a yellow cake, but I was afraid that it would look too much like a sponge. So I just opted for chocolate. I've got a few friends and family members who are having birthdays very soon too, so this is what I'm going to do for their cards as well. So I think this is just really cute. You could even write something funny, you know, write a little funny saying on it or just anything you wanted. It's your project that you've created, so you can do whatever you like with it. All right, so there's our center of our chocolate cake. We'll go ahead and ice the top and the sides of this one. I think I'm going to ice the side this time. And you can make your cake piece any size that you would like. It doesn't have to be small or large or medium, just whatever you like. If it looks realistic to you and it looks like fun, that's what you need to do. So if you feel good about your project, everybody else will too. This is one of the funnest projects. Everybody in the family got in on this one. We have some thank you cards too that we need to pass out. So we made some thank yous. And what better way to send a thank you than with a piece of cake with it. Got the side done. Now let's work on the top of this one. I like this almond color. Simple, simple. Now these sponges were about, it's not a very expensive craft at all. The sponges cost about $1.50 a piece. You can find them for less money than that somewhere, but these were about $1.50. But again, you get 2 pieces of cake out of them. Everything else I had laying around except for the almond caulk. I had white caulk, and I need some more caulk anyway because I had used up pretty much all I had around the house, so I needed some anyway. So cute. So see, now we've got another piece all decorated, and doesn't that look just like a piece of cake? I find that amazing. You could also use a colored sheet. On my pink cake, I used colored paper. I used pink color, so we'll try this one and see how it goes. I keep sticking my fingers in it. Make sure you do it where you have somewhere where you're going to sit it down so you don't get all your fingers and then want to lick that caulk. So we'll put this one over here to dry. Now, on one of them that's already done, we'll go ahead, and I made it like a postcard and just put a mark down the center so I could divide it to have the address ready. I'll scoot these over here then, and we'll just write this to someone. And then just put their address on there, whoever you'd like. Sign it. Having a great time. Wish you were here. Thanks for watching. Stuff like that. And there you go. Isn't that just something else? That is so neat. I just absolutely love these. I adore these. I'm going to let you know how they go too when we get them mailed. So I'll show you once again, since we have just a couple of minutes left before we have to say bye-bye. I'll show you how to cut another one, because this to me was kind of the, this was the only part that was just a little bit, you know, a little bit of work to it, not much. The first couple that I made, I was not satisfied at all with the size of them. So if you're able to get a few sponges, no problems there. Also, when I was spray painting them, I got spray paint all over everything. I had to soak and soak. You know how spray paint is. And so the next batch that I spray painted, I got smart and put on some plastic gloves. So now I only have a little bit of paint left on me. You will be able to make several of these in an hour's time. If you had a bunch of things that you needed to, a bunch of correspondence that you needed, you would have plenty made in a short amount of time. Now again, you'll want to score, and this is your icing part, and you'll want to do it on the wedge side, not the flat side. Like I said, this right here was the only little bit, and it's not so much of a challenge. But remember, the deeper that you cut it, the more caulk you have to use. So that's probably why I only could make 4 out of 1 tube of caulk, because I got pretty fancy with my cutting here. All right, and again. But now everybody that I've showed this to, that we've been hanging out and making these, this is the only part that you may feel unsure about. That's why I wanted to show it to you again. But you can't mess it up. Anything you feel like you might mess up here, you can paint over it, or you can put caulk icing on it. And the thing is, you can do this today, especially if you got your stuff hanging around your house. And you could have these in the mail tomorrow. I'm not sure if I mentioned, I heard the rumor that they cost about $3 a piece to mail. I'm not sure, but I am going to find out that. And I do know that it works because my friends who were telling me about it said that they had actually mailed one. So there you go. There's another cut sponge. And I don't know, I may end up just doing a sponge color, leaving it yellow. It does kind of look like sponge cake. Well, what do you think? I hope that you have certainly enjoyed this, and I hope to be getting a bunch of postcards from folks who are doing this. This is going to be some really good stuff. If you have any questions or anything about it, you can always let us know, and we can see what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and cut this other sponge and get it ready as well. And remember just to leave a little bit on the ends. Because when we're done here today, I am going to keep on working, and I'm going to send correspondence to everybody I know. And I would use the serrated knife. I would use a bread knife because I tried it with a razor blade knife and it does not make a very slick edge. All right, so that to me, like I said, is the hard part. So I've showed you twice how to do that. So hopefully you will be able to come out with this and come out with these. Remember, don't eat them. They're not going to be tasty at all. Well, I have had a fantastic time today making our postcards that look like cake. I hope that you've enjoyed it as well. If you'd like to find out more about us or kind of follow us along, you can always check with us on Facebook and Twitter. And thank you so much for watching as we made our postcard cake. And we'll see you next time on Gettin' Crafty with Kimberly. Thanks for watching.